Today I'm going to teach you how to turn a stack of foam to a Dragon Ball Z rock formation.
Vascotoys, action figure dioramas and props.
We're going to start off by cutting some 2-inch foam into 3 blocks that we're going to stack on top of each other and then hot glue into place. I'm going to do the same thing with some 1-inch foam, which is also going to be stacked and glued on this piece. I'm a big proponent of test fitting everything before you glue, so that's what I'm doing here. Time to start gluing these pieces. I'm choosing to use low temperature hot glue on this project. But you could totally opt for something a bit stronger like Hot Wire Foam Factory Styro Glue if you wanted to. One of the main benefits of using hot glue though is that this is going to dry almost instantaneously and allow me to work a lot quicker on this project. If you're looking for a deeper dive on the types of glues I use, click the link in the top right corner. I'm going to use a hot wire cutter, so I put my mask and my fan on for safety. Before we go any further, you might be thinking to yourself, I don't have a hot wire foam cutting tool, so I can't do this project. Not true. You can use a utility knife to carve the shape of the rock formation and then also carve all the details into the rock formations. It's just a lot faster if you do have a hot wire cutting tool, so that's what I chose to use in this. But if you don't, you can still follow along. I'm using a handheld hot wire tool for this project instead of going with the Proxxon. One of the things I love about these kind of terrain projects is they're really freeform, so I don't need the precision that the Proxxon offers. And on top of that, the foam that I'm cutting is far too tall to use the Proxxon with. The way that I do this is I start on the perimeter and I slowly sort of peel back the layers of the insulation foam, so to speak. It's sort of the same process that a woodworker would use to whittle down a piece of wood that they're working on. I'm showing you all this at 5 times speed so that you don't have to watch this in real time, but I really try to take my time as I'm doing this process because you can snap the wire on the foam cutter, which is very annoying to deal with. And an important tip here is to really try to make it so it's not a square shape that you end up with, because that really takes away from the realism look that you're going for. Even if you're looking for something like a Dragon Ball Z rock formation, there's very few times that those kind of formations are going to be square or rectangular. And that's it for the hot wire cutter. We're going to move on to utility knives and X-Acto knives to start carving the striation marks of the rock formation. The purpose of the hot wire tool was simply just to give us our general shape, but what we're doing here is really detailing the actual rock structure for this formation. And I can't stress enough how important it is to have a new knife or a newly sharpened knife as you're doing this process. Otherwise, you're going to get foam fraying, which is really going to take away from the rock formation look. It's also helpful to choose a pattern. So for this diorama, I'm mostly going from right to left in a diagonal downward motion. But you could very easily go a horizontal or choose a different direction. It's just important to have a plan. Here's what I have so far. I'll give you the 360 on this. Trying to just get a ton of different layers, a ton of different kind of slate type looks. And I still have some more carving to do, and as you guys can see, this is a tedious process. It takes a long time, but I think we're starting to get somewhere on this piece, and I'm starting to like the way it's looking. Even though the rocks are starting to look good from the carve, we're not done yet, so stopping would be a mistake. We want to texture the foam so it looks more like rock. If you've been following my channel, you know how much I love using a rolled up tinfoil ball to get texture on this foam. But you can also use actual rocks that you find outside, which is what I'm doing here. So for this piece, I'm doing a mixture of both of those texturing techniques. Something I always find a lot of value in is just looking over my pieces, and then if I feel I need to, I'll go back in and make some enhancements, which is what I'm doing here with my knife, just carving in some other pieces that I feel like I may have missed on the initial carve. Then I do the same exact thing with my texturing again. So there are some areas that I just wanted to enhance a little bit. I felt like they could use some more texture. So I just take that foam ball and sometimes the knife and I go in there again. So here's how it's looking so far. I've got my SH Figure Arts Krillin, Earth's Strongest Man, up on top of here because these rocks, to me, I was trying to get that DBZ feel and I want to get a DBZ character in here for reference. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually just take some lightweight wall spackle, use some gloves, and apply it to some of the layer lines. Even if they're really faint, I just want them completely gone. Some of what we did with our carving helps to have the illusion that those layer lines are not where they're at and doesn't draw attention to them, but I do want to cover up some of them to make sure that this looks like one cohesive rock formation. Time to grab some nitrile gloves and a little bit of this lightweight wall spackle and just simply apply with my finger to cover the layer lines that we initially created when we glued the stacks of foam on top of each other. It is important to be aware of where your cracks are and do your best to try not to get the unwanted wall spackle within the actual cracks that you want in the final piece. If you do, you can use a pencil or a clay sculpting tool or something like that to dig it out. The final step to carving this piece is sanding down all of the dried wall spackle that we applied to the foam. And in case you're wondering, that is a nail file that I'm using, and that's because nail files have basically sandpaper on both sides of them. I actually really like using them for this purpose. Thanks for checking out this video. We're all done carving the rock formation, but if you want to see part 2 where we paint this piece, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button. We'll see you in the next episode.